they see the government members driving around in. You have a ready-made mob. You have a ready-made crowd. You have a ready-made army of protesters who can easily become looters and thugs and thieves. Easily, in a flash, in a second. Because they are there, they're not at work, they're available, and they're vex already. And they're young and able-bodied. Now, to deconstruct the protest in Guyana, all you got to do is look at the examples. It happened with the Henry brothers, and it happened this time too. You have a genuine grievance and a genuine concern expressed by families of the victim. People who are in mourning and who should not be enduring the rubbish that the two large parties have been imposing on us. And they want solutions and they want justice, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it. Because at the end of the day, if the system doesn't work for us, there is very little that can be done. So the genuine, concerned, aggrieved individuals stand up to protest. And this immediately explodes into an opportunity for the poor, the able-bodied, the unemployed, the angry to jump on the bandwagon. Now, you will remember on both occasions, the family of the Henry brothers said it. They said, why are you doing this? This is not about looting or protesting or race. This is not about politics. This is about trying to get justice for our sons. This is about asking for the system to work. Please stop. Mr. Bacchus' father has gone on record to say this should never have happened. Why are you attacking people that you've never met? How do you justify that? But the reality is that the people who are attacking and looting and creating all that mayhem don't have anything to do with the truly aggrieved victims and their families. They are the opportunists who are waiting for a chance to make $1, to steal something. And that's the tragedy, because the tragedy is that they exist because we offer $60,000 minimum wage, and because our education system has failed them, and because they are seeing the family and friends of the government passing up and down in their $35 million Prados. Now, there's another element of this, and it's leadership. This incident has demonstrated that we cannot separate race from politics. And every Guyanese knows that you can't separate race from politics. Walter Rodney used to talk about class. And in a way, he was right, because economics is an important factor, and I've spoken about education and jobs and poverty. But class is inaccurate, because all of us come from the same place. We are descended from slaves and servants. There are no dukes and earls and princes here. There's no blue blood. Our blood is red. So if you are outside of the group of family, friends, and favorites, then you feel disenfranchised and you feel resentment. When you hear that government ministers are traveling all over the place, I saw the PPP journalist Neil Marks post on his Facebook a picture of himself and the First Lady carrying packages shopping in Rwanda. Now, I've never met the First Lady, but I like her. I like her human side. I like the fact that she smiles at the camera and she interacts with people. And I have nothing against her going and shopping in Rwanda in the company of her husband, who is on official business. I would be embarrassed if Guyana could not send its First Lady to do that. So please don't treat this as a criticism of the First Lady. I support her and I welcome her. But I wish to emphasize that at the other end of the spectrum, we cannot be talking about a $60,000 minimum wage. $60,000 is $300 US. That's 2 good dinners at a restaurant in Rwanda. You sit down at the restaurant, have a dinner, you will be paying 150 US. We need to be fair, we need to be just, and we are not treating our citizens with justice. And then where does the leadership come? The leadership comes with one party saying, trust the system, trust the system. And back in the day, when Cordis, Asana, and Adams were killed, APNU was saying it, trust the system. And back in the day, when APNU was in charge, they passed a bill into law giving Hamilton Green $2 million a month salary for the rest of his life. So don't let us pretend that this is one-sided. Don't let us try to say it's them and not us, as we like to do. ANU and United Guyana has always said that oil money cannot be spent just to build schools. It also has to be spent to pay teachers. When you build a school, you give that contract to your friend, you get a kickback, he puts up a school, and you've benefited, the contractor's benefited. But if you don't have teachers and you're not paying them, you haven't helped the education system. Oil money shouldn't be spent just to build police stations. Because when you build that police station, the contractor who gets the contract gives you a kickback, you benefit, he benefits, but the quality of police service isn't improved. And the confidence of the public in the police isn't improved. And the next time there is a protest, you will see that same thin line of scared, skinny policemen, all earning minimum wage, helpless against any real serious protest, unmotivated, uninspired, and looking at their own Guyanese citizens and sympathizing with them. This needs to change. We need to pay our police more so we get a better quality of police. We need to incentivize our police to get a degree so that they can conduct their jobs better. They can properly inquire into crime. They can properly do detective work. They can properly represent what they should be doing for our society. So don't quarrel about the quality of the police and the response of the police if you're not quarreling about the money being paid to the police. Don't quarrel about the quality of education and the lack of jobs and the poverty if you're not quarreling about the salary that's being paid to the teachers. Back to the protest. The genuinely aggrieved people were joined by hooligans and looters who are unemployed and vexed. And the hooligans and looters took over. And because in Guyana we have an Indo party and an Afro party, and because the aggrieved parties this time were Afro, it became political. And the victims were Indo, in Maripo. And that is unacceptable. And the blame must be placed squarely at the feet of the Indo party and the Afro party who perpetuate this nonsense. I want you to consider the response of Aubrey Norton when the president said he was going to compensate the Maripo folk for their losses. His response was, what about the police taking drinks from vendors in Golden Grove? That is the leadership you have. And what I want to ask you at the end of the day, on both sides, in both camps, both sides of the divide, who's gained from this? Who has benefited? I know the Bacchus family hasn't benefited because as things are, they're going to go down in history, fade away. There will be no resolution. There will be no open, transparent process, and they'll be forgotten in time. So their sorrow remains, their mourning remains. There's no justice. They haven't benefited. What about the victims? They certainly haven't benefited. Of course, it provides an opportunity for the government to go and pay them more money so that they say, oh, thank you. The government is great. They've paid me back. So you have a polarization of the population because I promise you, none of those protesters are going to support this government having been deprived of justice and not seeing anything done. And I promise you that none of those victims in Maripo are going to support the opposition when what they see coming down the road attacking them identifies in their mind as opposition supporters. And when they hear the tepid, ordinary remarks paying lip service to the harm that was done to them, but when their government opportunistically hands them cash, the only people that benefit from this protest, PPP, APNU. Those are the only people that benefit. For the rest of us, we become more polarized, more divided, more suspicious, more fearful. Now, politics equals race in Guyana. Politics equals race because there's an Afro party and an Indo party. Don't let us escape that reality. Let us confront our reality. And unless we move away from that and take responsibility ourselves, we will have another Shaka Blair, we will have another Jagmohan, and we will have another Born. Now, the solution. I think I have to say that I take responsibility for not following up with the Oren Boston matter. Because having demanded a hearing, having demanded that there be a coroner's inquest done publicly so that everyone can see what is happening, Unknown United Guyana then did not follow up. We wrote the magistrates, we wrote the Attorney General, we received no answer. So this is what I'm going to say to the authorities. That if within the next 2 weeks we do not see, and it isn't published, that steps are taken to conduct a coroner's inquest into these deaths, and now I include in that Mr. Bacchus, we will be taking steps in court to compel the magistrates and the government to conduct a public coroner's inquest. I wait to see what response the Attorney General makes when he's named as respondent in those proceedings. I wait to see if he says, oh, this shouldn't be done, there shouldn't be a public inquiry. Time will tell. Thank you very much. Good day. Time will tell. Thank you very much. Good day.